Good morning, happy Valentine's Day, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Ormond Beach, a welcoming community of compassion and acceptance. I'm Cliff Jackson, and I invite you to our virtual service this morning. The in-person discussion group and worship services usually held in our building have been suspended until further notice. We will continue to hold discussion group at 9:15 a.m. and worship at 10:30 every Sunday via Zoom until it is safe to hold large group functions again in our building. If you are joining us for the first time this morning, we extend a special welcome to you. We invite you to stay on the Zoom meeting after the service concludes, when many in attendance enjoy a bit of conversation with each other. We would enjoy meeting you if you'd like to introduce yourself. We also invite you to see our website at uuormond.org and look for the welcome button under the picture of our minister, Reverend Kathy. There you will find how to get further connected with our congregation and learn more about Unitarian Universalism. Now, on to announcements for the good of our community. Our building remains closed to most activities. If you must be in the building, a mask is required. Please practice social distancing and keep surfaces clean. A hand sanitizer dispenser is located in the kitchen. Please remember to schedule all events through our administrator, Kathy Jackson. While we are not holding congregational activities in the building, we still need to coordinate Zoom meetings and events and to have them on the church calendar. Because of the economic damage caused by the pandemic, many families in our community don't have enough to eat. From now until Easter, the UUCOB Alliance will be raising money and also collecting food for the Jerry Doliner Food Bank, located in Ormond Beach. If you want to donate cash to this project, please send your check made out to UUCOB Alliance, to the Alliance Treasurer Linda Kalajian, at 784 Peninsula Drive, Ormond Beach, Florida 32176. Please indicate that this contribution is for the food bank in the memo line on the check. On Wednesday, February 17th at 4 p.m., Linda Kalajian will present And Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. Linda will read selected poems and facilitate a discussion. This is part of the spring racial justice programming events at UUCOB. A Zoom link will go out via email on the 16th. Please be sure to read the weekly e-news for more details about upcoming events and other ongoing announcements. In the absence of a physical passing of the offering basket at this time, we invite you to make any smaller donations in honor of our virtual worship services or in financial support of the congregation through our PayPal donation button on our website. For larger donations or pledge payments, please send checks to UUCOB at 56 North Halifax Drive.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
At the sound of the chime, our service begins. Ding, ding. The prelude this morning is Gymnopédie by Eric Satie, performed by Janet Strompas, recorded by Felix Fernandez.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Kathy Turecki, and I welcome you to our worship service this morning. I am not in the sanctuary this morning, and Cliff, our service leader, is at home as well. But I've got this nifty little picture of the sanctuary behind me, which I hope adds a bit of atmosphere rather than my dog and my couch behind me. I'm sorry, apologize ahead of time for technical difficulties this morning. I didn't anticipate not being able to access my script and sharing the screen at the same time. So the call to worship, I'm going to stop sharing. Blessed Are We by Andrea Hawkins Camper. Blessed are we who gather with open hearts together in this space today. Blessed are we, the chalice lighters of resistance, justice, love, and faith. Blessed are we, the heretics, the outcasts, the walkers of our own way. Blessed are we, the border crossers, the refugees, the immigrants, the poor, the wanderers who are not lost. Blessed are we, the transgressors, the trespassers, the passers-by, the cause takers, the defiant, the compliant. Blessed are we, the hand extenders, the sign makers, the protesters, the protectors. Blessed are we, the trans women, the trans men, the non-binary, the cisgender, the multigender, the no gender. Blessed are we, the friend, the stranger, the lonely, the hidden, the visible, the authentic. Blessed are we who rise in solidarity. Blessed are we who cannot. Blessed are we who do not. Blessed are we, for this is our beloved community, and this is who we are.
Chalice lighting. I invite you to light a chalice at home if you have one nearby. I light this chalice, a single flame which I hope kindles many hearts this morning. Let this flame unite us in virtual community and remind us of each other's presence as we worship from many singular rooms. Let this flame inspire in us faith and courage to face these difficult times. Let this flame be our guide in making sense of a chaotic world, and let its light show us the way to beloved community both near and far. Our congregational covenant. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and service is our aim. To dwell together in peace and freedom, to seek the truth, and to help one another. These are our goals.
I received no joys and concerns this morning. I have myself two joys to share. The first, that I want to extend appreciation to John Horner for aiding in putting out surveys to the congregation that helped in completing our congregational certification with the Unitarian Universalist Association. So thank you, John. And then also I want to say that 25 years ago today, I gave birth to my daughter, Emily Jane Rickey. And I just can't believe that that much time has passed, but I am so proud and of my baby girl, and I miss her very much. So I hope you will join me in wishing in your hearts a happy birthday for her. and for all the joys and concerns which remain silently on our hearts this morning, I offer this prayer. For All That Is Our Life by Liz Weber. Spirit of life, help us to be present with all that is our life, both our deepest sorrows and our greatest joys, so that we can truly live, engaging fully in our own life and in our community. Spirit of community, help us know how linked we are, how each one of us our cares touches us all. Help us to ask for support when we are in need of help and offer our support to others when we are able, so that we may rest in the solace of one another's love. Spirit of love, help us to love our neighbor as we love ourselves, so that we might fully embody love and resist hatred. Spirit of resistance, help us to stick up for what is right, even when we are tired and afraid. Help us to dream of the world as it should be and act to bring that world about. Help us to find hope each day. Spirit of hope, help us through this day and each day. Help us to be present for all that is our life. For all this we pray. Amen and blessed be. And now I will play Spirit of Life by Carolyn McDade, performed and recorded by Janet Strumpus. Feel free to sing along if you are muted. Today marks the culmination of the Unitarian Universalist Association's 30 Days of Love, which runs each year from around Martin Luther King Jr. Day through Valentine's Day. 30 Days of Love celebrates the many ways in which Unitarian Universalists and our many partner organizations engage in works of love. This year, 30 Days of Love holds up justice, hospitality, and inclusion, those values and actions that make for beloved community. When I think of community, I think of it in terms of spheres, smallest to largest. The smallest I think of as family or our tribe. Beyond the family are circles of friends, affinity groups, social clubs, and activity groups. And then there are the more structured voluntary groups like religious organizations, civic groups, and nonprofit organizations. Businesses and government bodies, which employ people and provide products or services for people, are in themselves communities. Just think about Google. It's like a city in itself. Then there are communities defined geopolitically: neighborhood, town, city, county, state, country. The collective sovereignties of the world make up our global community, and beyond that is our biosphere, the global surface, and everything living within its life state sustaining atmosphere. Each of these nested spheres of community in which we live and have our being call for different ways of being in relationship. While relationship is at the heart of any community, voluntary or otherwise, right relationship is at the heart of beloved community. Is beloved community possible in every sphere of relationship, even globally? Ideally, I believe so. I think our Unitarian Universalists' second and sixth principles envision that possibility. They call for justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, and the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. But I do believe the latter is a lofty goal, which requires the long arc of the universe and its bend towards justice to bring it about. In other words, we won't see a global beloved community in our lifetime. Yet we have every reason to be hopeful for a world of peace, liberty, and justice. What's more, we need to act now in ways that will usher in such a world by building it in our own smaller spheres, because there is no possibility of a global beloved community without creating it locally. So let's start where we are within our own congregation. Apropos to 30 Days of Love, this month's worship theme asks us to consider what it means to be a people of beloved community. To contemplate the question, we must do so as individuals in relationship to others in our congregation. Henri Nouwen was a Catholic priest and theologian, a prolific and popular writer. And after teaching at Notre Dame, Harvard, and Yale, Nouwen spent the last 10 years of his career as a pastoral director of the L'Arche Daybreak community in Toronto, caring for people with severe disabilities. If anyone knows the wisdom of being in community with others, it's Nouwen. I like the way he defines beloved community. He sets forth not a sentimental vision of rainbows and unicorns, but a rather blunt realism when he says this: community is the place where the person you least want to live with always lives. That person is always in your community somewhere. And in the eyes of others, you might be that person. Whoa, ouch. In my community, how could I possibly be the person that others least want to live with? The truth is that at some point or another in our lives, we have all been that person to somebody else. The problem child, the one who runs with scissors, the difficult one, the unreasonable one, the one who, if they could just see it our way, everything would be all right. Seriously, is that me? Is that you? We've all been that person? Yes. And what's more, when we are on the other side of that coin, when we are in a place of judgment, we often deem others as somehow unsuited to our ideal of good company because we see in them something we don't like in ourselves. In other words, we often try to remove the speck from another's eye in order to avoid acknowledging the log we have in our own. This speaks to the reality that any community of people will never be idyllic, and Henri Nouwen points to the fact that it takes a great deal of intent and hard work to bring about beloved community among ourselves. Yet Nouwen's description also holds out the hope that keeping the goal of beloved community in front of us will bring about the actualizing practices of awareness, forgiveness, accountability, and better relationship with ourselves and others. The words of Dietrich Bonhoeffer ring true here. He said, "The person who loves their dream of community will destroy community, but the person who loves those around them will create community." I'll say that again. The person who loves their dream of community will destroy community, but the person who loves those around them will create community. There is so much deep truth in Bonhoeffer's statement. We may think of this as applicable only to Hitler and his dream of a purely Aryan community and how that vision destroyed 60 million people. But Bonhoeffer's wisdom is much more universal and timeless. What he describes happens all the time, although thankfully without the destructive force of a world war. On a more mundane level, consider if any of us are a member of a community and have a narrowly defined vision of what that community should be, we are destined to serve our vision only and will rarely see past it to what will best serve the whole community. Secondly, the love that creates community, the love that Bonhoeffer speaks of in creating rather than destroying community, that love that seeks the good of the whole is not by any means an easy love to live into. It requires the constant check of our egos and our assumptions. It requires us to examine our own fallibilities, our own faults, our own shortcomings, and to accept them in others. So to accept them in ourselves, our fallibilities and our faults, accept them in ourselves in order to accept them in others. It requires us to live with difference, to live with diversity, to live with challenge, and to live in discomfort from time to time. It requires us to live with conflict and to face conflict rather than to avoid it. You see, building beloved community is not about rainbows and unicorns. It isn't about agreement or like-mindedness. It isn't about each other's comfort. And it isn't about being a refuge from the outside world. Building beloved community requires us to have the widest vision of community that we can imagine. Beloved community is not a utopia. Living into a love that seeks to create beloved community is anything but easy. I imagine at this point, some of you might be thinking, well, Reverend Kathy, life in general sure isn't a bowl of peaches right now. And I might be feeling the need for rainbows, unicorns, and comfort anyway. I might need more ease than dis-ease right now. And if you are thinking along those lines, I hear you. I am bone weary of this pandemic too. And of course, there is comfort to be had and comfort to be given in our congregational community. And I ask that while we continue to be present to each other's cares and woes, we also cultivate among ourselves the ability to engage the kind of love necessary to bring about beloved community. In that regard, Henry Nouwen also said this: community, he said, is first of all a quality of the heart. It grows from the spiritual knowledge that we are alive not for ourselves, but for one another. Community is the fruit of our capacity to make the interests of others more important than our own. The question, therefore, is not how can we make community, but how can we develop and nurture giving hearts? How can we develop and nurture giving hearts? Is this something that needs developing among us? I mean, we give lots of our time, talent, and treasure in support of one another, don't we? But then, if we ask ourselves, when was the last time I gave someone else the benefit of the doubt? When was the last time I let go of my assumptions about someone else? When was the last time I gave up my own plans to make way for someone else's? When was the last time I listened to understand rather than to respond? And when was the last time I put trust in someone who needed my trust? There are many ways to be generous of heart, especially when it comes to right relationship. Our biggest challenge as a congregation may be how to remain in right relationship while doing the hard work of building beloved community. And this is not limited to us. This is the challenge of every congregation in our association. And I promise you, it is the struggle of other mainstream Protestant congregations as well. Generous hearts and open minds will be key to our success. We could also learn the praxis of healthy conflict resolution and engage in building trust between us. A few years ago, together as a congregation, we hammered out a covenant of right relations. So in other words, a kind of a blueprint for what right relationship looks like. But I'm beginning to think that our endeavor might have been putting the cart before the horse, because from what I observe, we don't seem to own it or heed it, myself included. And now I'm wondering if our nicely framed document gathers dust because there is other work we needed to do first, such as trust building and learning how to be in healthy relationship with each other while working through conflict and change. Conflict and change are inevitable in any community. If we don't go through change, we die. We die as an institution. At this point, folks, I'm merely posing the question of whether we need to do more work in order to be able to live into our covenant of right relations. Because our covenant of right relations, I believe, is a way to live into that love that's necessary to bring about beloved community. And remembering that beloved community is not utopia. It's not a place where there is no suffering or there's no, where we don't cause each other the occasional hurt. It's not a place of perfect equality or equity. It's not what we are seeking. What we are seeking is to be in the right relationship as we work through the toughness of life. And so at this point, I pose the question of, do we have more work to do? And as it turns out, today, I have the opportunity to have a talk about After the service is concluded, not the sermon, but the whole service. After the service is concluded, I'm going to open up a breakout room in which I will, if you want to join me in a talk about this, you're welcome to. I'm happy to have the opportunity to do this right away. I didn't think I was going to be able to. In the meantime, the work we are being called to do by the 30 days of love awaits us. We are being called as a congregation to side with love in building beloved community within the larger sphere of our Unitarian Universalist Association. The 30 Days of Love campaign invites us as a congregation to engage the findings of the Commission on Appraisal's report, Widening the Circle of Concern, and invite you to the challenge of reflection as we review 4 chapters of the report, namely living out our values, hospitality and inclusion, educating for liberation, and repair and reparations. We will also be viewing a pre-recorded worship service which engages the content of these chapters in meaningful ways. I'll be leading this event, which takes place on Saturday, February 20th at 10 a.m. via Zoom. The link will go out the day before. I hope to see as many of you as possible next Saturday so that together we can exercise our generosity of heart and discover the kind of love needed to create beloved community, both here at home and afar. May it be so. And now Dan Kerr and Rosemary Burns, his wife, has provided us with a perfect anthem for today. I could not do without you.
I could not do without you, this gift of love we share, whose precious heart redeems me at such tremendous cost.
The righteousness, thy pardon, thy precious heart must be my only hope and comfort, my glory and my plea. I could not do without thee. I cannot stand alone. I have no strength nor goodness, no wisdom of my own. But all beloved people are all in all to me. And weakness will be power if leaning hard on me.
Gosh, that was beautiful. If Dan or Rosemary are here, we really appreciate your gift of music.
Chalice extinguishing. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
For benediction, the words of A. Powell Davies from the resource Lifting Our Voices. None of our private world is big enough for us to live a wholesome life in. We need the wider joy and wonder of purpose and venture, of toil and tears. We are, any of us, what are we, any of us, but strangers and sojourners, forlornly wandering through the nighttime until we draw together and find meaning of our lives in one another, dissolving our fears in each other's courage, making music together and lighting torches to guide us through the dark. We belong together. Love is what we need, to love and to be loved. Let our hearts be open, and what we would receive from others, let us give. For what is given still remains to bless the giver when the gift is love. Go in peace, friends, and happy Valentine's Day. And our postlude is Wonderment by David Foster, performed by Janet Strumpus and recorded by Felix Fernandez.